looking at the new Lisa Eldridge eyeliners. Now, I picked up 4 shades. There are 6 shades in total. I picked up the black, the green, the gray, and the cool brown. There's also like a gold, like an antique gold shade, and there's a warm brown shade. So those are the only 2 that I didn't pick up. They come in the Lisa Eldridge packaging. Let's see if it will adjust. I think you guys can see it. Hopefully you've seen the Lisa Eldridge packaging before. It has 24-month shelf life. They are described as eye pencils. London. Yeah, okay. Nothing else on here that I need to say. They are 0.04 ounces and they're called Seamless Glide eye pencils. So I have not watched anybody else's videos on the pencils, but I have heard some things. So we're gonna go ahead and try them. I'm gonna put them on the back of my hand so you can see the shades. I have a number of different pencils to compare them to. Chantecaille, Tom Ford, Chanel, Dior, and Victoria Beckham. My take is that they're most like the Victoria Beckhams, but we'll find out. So I know the green is going to be one that a lot of folks want to see in comparison. That is the green. It's a very, very dark green. And like I said, I have a number of other pencils with like the green shade and gray shade and blue shade, so you guys can look. This one is Cinder Smoke, which almost looks black. It's a very deep gray. Ground Coffee, very, very deep brown, cool brown. Reminds me of Blackwood from Chanel. And then this is the Black Treacle. All right, so those are the shades. Like I said, I did not pick up, and I'll give you the names, I did not pick up Renaissance Gold, and I did not pick up Burnt Umber. Renaissance Gold is that like antique gold shade, and then Burnt Umber is the warm brown. So I'm gonna let that kind of sit on my hand, and let's just talk a little bit about what it says. Seamlessly glides on pigment with a luxurious, almost liquid feeling, allowing for playtime before setting to a budge-proof, waterproof, and fade-resistant finish that will last all day with 16-hour proven wear. Suitable for the lids, lash lines, and waterline. Infused with soothing chamomile flower extract, the formula smooths color comfortably across the lid, hugging the lash line in pure, rich color. 6 shades. There's Velvety Matte, and then the Renaissance Gold is the blackened metallic gold with cool champagne pearl. The Night Forest is the deepest green with blue and green pearl. Cinder Smoke is a cool gray with subtle pearl. Black Treacle is a classic matte black. Ground Coffee is a neutral deep matte brown. And Burnt Umber is a rich warm matte brown. So the ones here, Ground Coffee is a matte, Black is a matte. The Cinder Smoke has a pearl, a subtle pearl. And the Night Forest has blue and green pearl in it. That's this one here. The shades are all very deep. I think they'll definitely look different on the eye, but you know, on the hand, and again, I'll do swatch comparisons in a moment, but we're gonna try it on the eye. I'm gonna let this sit here and let's see if we can rub it off. So I'm gonna put a headband on. Okay, so let's take the green, because I think that's one of the shades that everybody is really interested in, and let's see what it does on the eye. So they are very smooth. I will say they are liquidy when they go on. They do remind me of the Victoria Beckham in the sense that you don't need a lot of pressure. They go on like liquid. Very easy to put that line on. The question will be, do they set? And once they set, can you move them? All that good stuff. So that is the green shade on the eye. It's a very pretty green, but like I said, it's very, very deep, and it is very liquidy. So let's take a brush, stamper brush here, and I'm just gonna go across my lash line with it. Now, if you guys don't know, I have dry lids. I don't have oily skin at all. My skin is very dry, so it may be that, you know, something that would work for me won't work for you because my skin is so dry. Just keep that in mind. Okay. So we'll let that sit for a moment. See if I like blink, if it does anything. Let's take, I'm trying to figure, I think I'll take the gray over here, the cinder smoke. I'm actually gonna put it on the eyelid. I'll put it on the, you know, up to the, like on the lash line and then above, like that. Then I'm gonna try to smooth it out and see if it works as like shadow. I kind of want, I'm letting it sit a little bit because I want to see how it does. This is a smudger one, so perfect. Okay, let's smudge it out. You ever do a look like this where you take a liner and you smudge it? You can do it with Victoria Beckham's as well. I would tell you to work slowly. Oh, I already have transfer down below underneath my eye. But I would tell you to work slowly unless it sets super fast, because otherwise you will, you'll get too much. Like you can always build, but you know, it's harder to take off. I don't generally do this kind of thing because I always feel like, well, I could just use shadow for that, but some people like to take pencil and smudge it. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, I feel like it takes longer. Yeah, it smudges really well. I mean, it makes a good shadow. But you can see I got transfer underneath my eye, just like automatically. Yeah, it's smudged underneath. And I probably would need like, you know, a cleanser to clean that up. But so that's what it looks like smudged out, which actually looks quite nice. Again, I don't generally do that, but you know, it smudges out well. I'll take the black liner and put it on as a regular liner. Yeah, it's very smooth, very liquidy, like super liquidy. You just, all you have to do is touch your eye with this and it's going to transfer, which is great as long as it stays. Now, I don't know if it will or not. We're about to find out. Because the thing is, if it immediately smudges the moment you touch it, then that's not gonna work. So we'll have to see. Let's smudge this out a little bit. You can use the little rubber things that are at the end of pencils. These don't have that, but I mean, there's lots of pencils that do. I tend not to do that because my eyes and skin are very sensitive, so I always use a brush. But you can use whatever. You can use a Q-tip if you want to smudge it out, or you can just keep it, you know, like a harder line. I feel like on me, a softer line looks better, so I tend to do that. Okay, so that's the liner. I mean, it went on incredibly smoothly. It does transfer though, while it was sitting. Now let's see, here we go. Well, it definitely smudges. Doesn't come off completely, but it smudges. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna smudge, guys. You can see how it, I mean, most shadows, most liners do. I mean, this is described budge proof. I wouldn't say it's budge proof. Yeah, I mean, it smudges out very well, and it's a nice liner, but yeah, I mean, it definitely smudges. Let's see if it smudges on the eye. I'll just leave this green liner like this. You can see though it's transferring to the top of my eyelid. Can you see that? Right there? Yeah, it's transferring up here. So it is very smooth, but it's transferring. So, and I have dry lids. I'm gonna take the ground coffee and put it over here. Yeah, I mean, guys, this is super liquid. I have to say, it is. I'm just gonna leave this one. I'm not gonna smudge that brown. It is really easy to go on, but it's so liquidy that I think it's gonna smudge. Like I said, it's already transferred to the upper part of my eye and I have dry eyelids. You know, this gray shade I smudged out, so you don't have that. Like I smudged it all the way out. But the black looks like it's kind of transferring as well. Let's Let's put on a little more of the green. Let's see what happens if I... Yeah, they're super smooth, but I think they're so liquidy that... Because I remember her saying that you gotta let it sit, but I've let these sit. All right, let's just let that sit there for a moment. Yeah, I think they're so liquidy in nature. I think they're transferring. All right, so let's do comparisons. Let's do shade comparisons. Let's start with the green, and then you can see the difference in the formulas as well. Okay, so we have, let's use, these are $30, by the way, which is a very reasonable price for an eyeliner. So this is called Night Forest, and let's do it like this so you guys can see. You see how smooth that is. I mean, it literally glides on. There's no doubt about that. Like, it's just absolutely smooth. Let's take the Victoria Beckham, the olive, and put it next to it. So the olive is more of a forest green, has a greener, deeper greener shade. The forest has a little bit more warmth to it, a little bit more olive, actually, interestingly enough. This is the Chantecaille. This is Black Forest. Now, I'll tell you, you can see, like, this isn't as smooth, but this stuff stays on. The Chantecaille absolutely does stay on. The shade is more like this one than the Lisa Eldridge. I'll build the Lisa Eldridge up just a little bit more so you guys can see it a little bit. But the Lisa Eldridge is, yeah, it's like warmer, like more of an olive almost. This is a more almost forest. But there is a similarity in the way that it goes on, but I would still say that it's more liquidy. Here's Olive Brocade by Chantecaille. This has a metallic to it. It's one of my favorite shades by them. Okay, let's do, this is the Dior. This is dark green. This one looks, I think, very similar to the Victoria Beckham olive. Interesting. And these are all very smooth, but they have more drag than the Lisa Eldridge. This is a Tom Ford, which I don't think exists anymore. Metallic Moss. You can see, like, it's definitely not as smooth. It's harder for me to, but this one also stayed on. That's more like this shade. So if you're looking for something to replace Metallic Moss, it is close. All right, and then Chanel Black Jade. I'm gonna put it, my arm is a little crooked today. We'll put it here. Black Jade is very close. Very, very close. It's got more black in it, but so of the formulas, and I'm gonna let that sit for a couple minutes. Of the formulas, I would say the smoothest, the easiest to put on is the Lisa Eldridge, and then the Victoria Beckham, and then the Chanel, probably. The Dior goes on pretty smoothly, but those are the top three. But the Victoria Beckham is incredibly smooth. Like, it just glides on. Okay, see the line on the top of my eye? Yeah, so these definitely transfer, guys. Like, pretty much immediately. And like I said, I have dry lids. So here's Victoria Beckham. I mean, sorry, here's the new Lisa Eldridge. Here's Victoria Beckham. And then the Chantecailles. And then the Tom Ford. And then the Dior. And then Chanel. Which, like I said, it's very similar, but the Victoria Beckham has more green. Black Jade has more black.
I didn't pull out the Chanel waterproof ones because those are a totally different formula. They don't come off. Like once those, at least for me, once those go on, they don't go anywhere. It's not fair for me to compare these, but these are all pencils. Yeah, they're all pencils. All right, so no, that one doesn't smudge. Which one was that? Is that Dior? I think that's the Dior. Yep, that's Dior. Okay, the Dior doesn't smudge. Interesting. Okay. Chantecaille doesn't smudge. Chantecaille doesn't smudge. Chanel does not smudge. Victoria Beckham smudges. Lisa Eldridge smudges. So the ones that don't smudge are the Chantecaille and the Dior and the Chanel. The rest of them smudge. This is Tom Ford. So the Chanel, Dior, and Chantecaille are the only ones that don't smudge on my arm. The Victoria Beckham smudged, guys. I mean, it doesn't all come off, but it smudges. At least on me, again. So what I would say is that the shades, and I have them all over my hands, the shades are all deep, and there's not a lightness to any of this. Let me see what else I'd like to compare. Let's take out the Victoria Beckham. This is sea gray. Let's put it next to the gray here. Yeah, the sea gray is like very silvery. You can see that's a totally different gray. Sea gray is gorgeous. All the Victoria Beckham shades are great, are beautiful. Let's use, I'm looking for, is that the green? That's the green. See that? See, I just did that. Like, that's the green shade. This is the gray shade. But I was looking at it and like, I can't tell because they're similar. And I have sunlight coming in, so it's kind of hard to tell. All right, so let's use the ash. The ash is still similar. Here's ash. Here's the Victoria Beckham. I mean, here's the Lisa Eldridge. The ash is a deeper charcoal kind of gray. The Victoria Beckham, and I'll build it back up so, because I did smudge it out. Cinder Smoke. It's not quite as deep, but it's close. These two shades are very close. Victoria Beckham Ash and Cinder Smoke. Very, very similar. Very similar shades. And then I would say, let's see, this is Chanel. Let's see if I have, this is Brune Teak. Let's see what this looks like. Well, it's much, much warmer. This is Brune Teak, and this is Ground Coffee. I'll build up the brown coffee again since I did smudge it. So that's Brune Teak, that's Ground Coffee. Like I said, it's a much deeper shade. Let me compare it to Blackwood, even though it's a very different formula. You can see if it's, so I don't think Blackwood exists anymore. I think that shade is gone. That's Blackwood. Blackwood actually has more black in it. It almost looks more like the gray than it does the browns. Interestingly enough. It's more like the matte black that they have. The shades are all deep shades. They're all the ones right here in the middle. The black is a nice black. It's, you know, it's a good matte black. The brown is a cool brown that I actually do like. The gray is very much like ash, very, very similar. And the green, I would say, looks most like the Tom Ford Metallic Moss or the Chanel Black Jade, although the Black Jade is blacker. It's got more of that grayness to it than the the Lisa Eldridge, but it's similar. And I have to say, between the shades, the Lisa Eldridge shade and the Victoria Beckham shade, they are very similar. And and this is, you know, Victoria Beckham Olive, and this is the Lisa Eldridge Night Forest. I don't know if it would show up that differently on the eye, let's put it on the eye next to it and see. I'm gonna smudge this all over my table here. So let's take the Victoria Beckham, this is Olive, and just put it like right over the shade so you guys can see it. Yeah, I don't know if it looks that different. It's deeper, I think. I don't think it's that much different, do you? I think if you have the Ash and the Olive and Victoria Beckham, this would be a little bit of a duplicate. Just my take. And it definitely transfers. I mean, there's no doubt about that transferring. Okay, let me take all of this off my arm and we'll come back and we'll do final thoughts. So I took off the green and put the gray shade on and smudged it out like I did with this eye. And like I said, I think it smudges really well. I think it looks really nice as an all over shade. We'll see if it breaks up during the day or if it goes under the eye. I think the liners are really nice. They do remind me of Victoria Beckham, but I would say they are so liquidy and so soft that I feel like they smudge too much, especially when they're described as budge proof. Now, I did let them sit. I did wait. Maybe you have to wait even longer. Maybe that's it. Or maybe you need a primer and powder. I generally don't do that. But you also saw when I had the shades on my hand that the Chantecaille, the Dior, and the Chanel did not smudge. So there are liners that you can use that aren't going to smudge. The Chanel waterproof ones, they don't smudge either, at least on me. So, you know, for me personally, I think the Chanel liners work really, really well. This was the Black Jade one that I used. I really like these, and that one didn't smudge. Dior has ones that actually look very much like the Chanel's, like even the packaging is almost the same. It's kind of odd, but that didn't smudge. And of course the Chantecaille ones didn't smudge either. Chantecaille are some of my favorite. They're called Luster Glide. They didn't smudge on my arm, and they are a beautiful formula and work really, really well. I think they are more expensive. I think these are all more expensive than $30 for the Lisa Eldridge. The Victoria Beckhams, and I'll see if I'll put the price down below. They're very, very similar. But I would say the Victoria Beckhams, even though they did smudge on my arm, I haven't noticed them transferring when I've worn them. I don't know. I have to play around with a little bit more, but I would say these are not budge proof. I think they're very beautiful. I think they do go on seamlessly. There's no doubt about that. But I think they're so wet that they're gonna transfer. So unless you smudge it out like this, which makes it look kind of like an eyeshadow, this doesn't seem to be moving. And this might stay on all day, which is great if you want to use it for that purpose. But as just the liner, it definitely, you saw it. Like I got it underneath my eye, it transferred onto my lid. That doesn't usually happen with my other liners. And again, I have dry eyelids. So I'll try it with a primer, try it with some powder, see what happens. But to be honest, I don't like to put powder on my eyes because they're already dry, so it accentuates texture. Primer, the only primer I like is the Gerard, there's some I like, but the only one that I would really recommend is the Gerard Cosmetics one. That one's really good. I'll see if it stays with that one, it doesn't transfer. But I don't always use a primer. So, you know, I would rather stick with the ones that just don't, like, when I'm traveling or I know I need something all day, I just wear the Chanel waterproof ones because I know they don't move. And now that I've done this test, I also know that the Chanel, the Dior, and the Chantecaille don't move, which is nice to know. So yeah, I think I would stick with those. Not that these aren't good and not that these aren't beautiful, because they actually are beautiful and I really like the shades, but I just think the transferring would be a hindrance for me. Again, I'll keep playing around with them. They're new, I just got them, but that's my take at the moment. So I'd love to hear if you've tried them out, if you're having, you know, the similar experience or a different experience, whether you think that like gold shade is worth getting. It does look really beautiful and I have been thinking about getting that. So let me know.
Thanks so much for joining me today, guys. I really do appreciate it. I hope to see you in another video really soon.